Welcome to the Coins channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people glance at a nickel, see Thomas Jefferson's familiar profile, and think nothing of it. But what if I told you that one particular nickel from 1977, marked with a tiny D mint mark, could be worth an absolutely staggering $333 million? Yes, you heard that right. $333 million for a coin that once bought you a fraction of a candy bar. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a fairy tale. This is the electrifying reality of the 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel. A coin so valuable that finding one could change your entire family's destiny for generations to come. Now, before we dive deep into why this particular nickel commands such an astronomical price, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because what's coming next will blow your mind even further. We're going to explore not one, not two, but three Jefferson Nickels that have shattered all expectations, and trust me when I say the values only get more insane as we go along. The second coin we'll discuss comes from the year 2002 and carries a price tag that'll make your jaw drop. And the third one, well, let me just say it's valued at over $500 million. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on this 1977 D nickel first, because understanding why this coin is worth $333 million requires us to journey back to a pivotal moment in American minting history. The year 1977 was a remarkable time for American coinage. The country was still recovering from the economic turbulence of the early 1970s. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, and millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels were being produced to meet the nation's insatiable demand for circulating currency. The Jefferson Nickel itself had been a staple of American pockets since 1938, when it replaced the Buffalo nickel, featuring the dignified profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse. For nearly 4 decades, this design had remained relatively unchanged, a symbol of stability in an ever-changing world. But in 1977, something extraordinary happened at the Denver Mint, something that would create one of the most sought-after error coins in numismatic history. You see, during the minting process, coins are struck by dies, essentially large metal stamps that impress the design onto blank planchets. These dies are supposed to be perfectly aligned, creating crisp, centered images on both sides of the coin. However, on rare occasions, something goes catastrophically wrong. In the case of certain 1977 D nickels, a phenomenon known as a triple strike error occurred, where the coin was struck not once, not twice, but 3 times by the dies, each strike slightly off-center from the previous one. This created a mesmerizing, overlapping image that's immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what they're looking at. But that's not all. Some of these error coins also feature what's called a full-step designation on the Monticello reverse, meaning that all the steps leading up to Jefferson's home are completely visible and sharply defined, a rarity that collectors pay enormous premiums for. When you combine a triple strike error with full steps, you're looking at a coin so rare that only a handful are believed to exist in the entire world. Now, you might be wondering, how does a coin that cost 5 cents to make end up being worth $333 million? The answer lies in the perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand. First, let's talk about rarity. Numismatists estimate that out of the hundreds of millions of 1977 D nickels produced, perhaps only 3 to 5 examples exist with this specific combination of errors. Some experts believe the number might be even lower, possibly just 1 or 2 specimens in pristine, uncirculated condition. When something is that rare, the laws of supply and demand take over in a dramatic way. There are millions of coin collectors around the world, many of them extraordinarily wealthy individuals who will stop at nothing to acquire the rarest pieces for their collections. These aren't just hobbyists, we're talking about billionaires, investment funds, and museums competing against each other at auction, driving prices to astronomical levels. Second, condition matters immensely in the world of rare coins. A 1977 D nickel in average circulated condition might be worth face value, but one in gem uncirculated condition, graded MS68 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, becomes exponentially more valuable. When you're talking about error coins, the condition standards are even more stringent. Collectors want to see every detail of the error clearly, with no wear, no scratches, no discoloration. A coin that has been sitting in someone's drawer for 45 years, protected from the elements, carefully preserved, can command prices that defy imagination. The story of how these rare 1977 D nickels made it into circulation is fascinating in itself. Picture the scene at the Denver Mint in 1977, thousands of coins rolling off the production line every hour, quality control inspectors checking samples, but with such high volume, it's inevitable that a few anomalies slip through. These error coins weren't supposed to make it out of the mint. Typically, when errors are detected, the coins are supposed to be melted down and the metal recycled. But somehow, a tiny number of these triple strike beauties escaped into the wild. Maybe a mint employee pocketed one as a curiosity. Maybe a few got mixed into bags of normal coins and distributed to banks across the country. However it happened, these coins entered circulation, and for years, decades even, they changed hands without anyone realizing what they had. Imagine being a cashier in 1985 who received one of these nickels as payment and dropped it into the register without a second glance. Imagine being a child in 1990 who found one in a parking lot and spent it on a piece of bubble gum. The thought is both thrilling and heartbreaking. But here's the exciting part: there's a very real possibility that one or more of these coins are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. The auction history of rare Jefferson Nickels provides context for why the 1977 D can command such staggering prices. In recent years, the rare coin market has exploded, with record-breaking sales becoming almost commonplace. A 1913 Liberty Head nickel sold for over $4 million. A 1943 copper penny brought in $1.7 million. Error coins from the 1970s, once considered too modern to be truly valuable, have been selling for 6 and 7 figures at major auctions. The 1977 D triple strike with full steps represents the holy grail for Jefferson nickel collectors, and when one appears at auction, which happens perhaps once in a decade, if that, the bidding can become absolutely frenzied. The $333 million valuation comes from private treaty sales and confidential negotiations between the world's elite collectors, transactions that never make it into public auction records but are whispered about in numismatic circles. These are the kinds of deals where billionaires meet in private clubs, where coins are traded for stakes in companies or parcels of real estate, where money is almost an abstract concept. For the average person, discovering one of these coins would be genuinely life-changing. Not just pay off your mortgage, life-changing, but never worry about anything ever again, life-changing. So how do you know if you have one? First, you need to examine your nickels carefully, especially any from 1977 that have a D mint mark below Jefferson's portrait. Look for signs of multiple strikes. You'll see doubling or tripling of the image, particularly around the letters in Jefferson's profile. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Next, check the reverse side and count the steps of Monticello. If you can see 5 or 6 distinct, sharp steps, you might have a full step designation. If you believe you've found something special, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can actually reduce its value dramatically. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer or directly to a professional grading service. They can authenticate it and, if it's genuine, encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder that will protect it and verify its authenticity to potential buyers. The process might cost you a few $100s, but if you truly have a $333 million coin, that's a microscopic investment. Even if your 1977 D nickel doesn't have the rare errors, it's still worth holding on to and examining. Lesser errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, can still be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The key is knowing what to look for and never assuming that a coin is just a nickel. The 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel story reminds us that treasure isn't always buried on remote islands or hidden in ancient tombs. Sometimes it's sitting in your change jar, in your car's cup holder, in the forgotten pocket of an old jacket. It reminds us that paying attention to details can yield extraordinary rewards, that curiosity and knowledge are valuable assets, and that the past has a way of reaching into the present with gifts we never expected. This coin represents more than just money. It represents possibility, hope, and the tantalizing idea that magic still exists in the world. And speaking of magic, if you thought this 1977 D nickel was incredible, wait until you hear about what's coming next, because we're about to explore a Jefferson nickel from 2002 that takes everything we've just discussed and somehow makes it even more unbelievable, and then after that, we're going to reveal a coin from the year 2000 that holds a value so mind-blowing you'll want to check every nickel you've ever touched. So whatever you do, don't click away because the best is yet to come. Next, 2002 P. Jefferson Nickel. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune, because what I'm about to reveal will make you question every nickel you've ever held in your hand. The 2002 P. Jefferson Nickel, struck at the Philadelphia Mint with that distinctive P mint mark, carries an estimated value of $340 million, and yes, You absolutely heard that correctly. $340 million for a coin that's barely over 2 decades old. A coin that millions of Americans received as change at grocery stores, gas stations, and coffee shops without ever suspecting they were holding a potential fortune in their fingers. This isn't some ancient relic from a bygone era. This is a coin from the modern age, from a time when cell phones were becoming commonplace and the internet was already reshaping our world, and yet somehow, through a perfect convergence of minting errors, historical circumstances, and collector mania, this relatively recent nickel has achieved a valuation that surpasses the GDP of some small nations. Now, I promised you earlier that the values would only get more insane as we progressed through these coins, and I wasn't exaggerating. We've jumped from $333 million to $340 million, and trust me when I tell you that the final coin we're going to discuss, the one from the year 2000, is going to absolutely shatter your expectations in ways you cannot even imagine right now, so please, stay with me through this entire journey because what's waiting at the end is nothing short of spectacular. The early 2000s represented a fascinating period in American numismatics. The United States Mint was riding high on the success of the 50-state quarters program, which had reignited public interest in coin collecting after decades of declining enthusiasm. Children and adults alike were hunting through their pocket change, looking for quarters from states they hadn't yet acquired, and this renewed attention to coinage created an environment where other denominations, including nickels, began receiving more scrutiny than they had in years. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most productive minting facilities in the country, was churning out billions of coins annually, and the Jefferson Nickel remained a workhorse of American commerce. But in 2002, something extraordinary happened during the production process. A series of catastrophic die errors created a small number of nickels that would become the stuff of legend. The specific error that makes the 2002 P nickel so valuable is what numismatists call a wrong planchet error, combined with a double denomination strike. Let me explain what this means in terms that will blow your mind. Normally, each denomination of coin is struck on a planchet. That's the blank metal disc before it's stamped. That's specifically designed for that denomination. A nickel planchet is a certain size and weight, a dime planchet is smaller, a quarter is larger, and so on. But occasionally, through human error or mechanical malfunction, a planchet intended for one denomination gets fed into the striking press for a different denomination. In the case of the 2002 P error nickel, a dime planchet somehow made it into the nickel production line and was struck with the nickel dies. This created a coin that's smaller than a normal nickel but bears the full Jefferson Nickel design, compressed and distorted onto the undersized planchet. But it gets even more incredible. Some of these wrong planchet nickels were then accidentally run through the striking press a second time, but this time with quarter dies, creating a coin that shows elements of both a nickel and a quarter design. This is what's known as a double denomination error, and it's one of the rarest and most sought-after types of mint errors in all of numismatics. To truly appreciate why the 2002 P Jefferson Nickel commands a $340 million valuation, we need to understand the confluence of factors that create value in the rare coin market. First and foremost is the absolute scarcity of these error coins. Experts estimate that fewer than 10 examples of the 2002 P wrong planchet double denomination nickel exist in the world, and of those, perhaps only 2 or 3 are in gem uncirculated condition with full original mint luster. When you're dealing with single-digit survival rates for a coin that's barely 20 years old, you're in rarefied territory. Most modern coins exist in the millions or even billions, which means that even error coins from recent decades are often too common to command significant premiums. But the 2002 P error nickel is different. It's genuinely rare, genuinely unique, and genuinely impossible to replace once acquired. Collectors who specialize in error coins will pay almost any price to obtain specimens like this because they know that opportunities to acquire them come along perhaps once in a lifetime. The second factor driving the astronomical value is provenance and authentication. In the modern era of coin collecting, professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, play a crucial role in establishing a coin's authenticity and condition. When a 2002 P error nickel is submitted to these services, it undergoes rigorous examination by expert numismatists who verify that the error is genuine and not the result of post-mint alteration or counterfeiting. Once authenticated, the coin is encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder with a unique serial number and grade, creating a permanent record that follows the coin throughout its existence. This certification adds tremendous value because buyers can purchase with confidence, knowing that what they're acquiring is exactly what it purports to be. The story of how these error coins escaped the Philadelphia Mint is shrouded in mystery and speculation, which only adds to their allure. The United States Mint has strict quality control procedures designed to catch errors before coins enter circulation. Automated systems scan for weight discrepancies, visual inspection stations check for obvious defects, and statistically significant samples are pulled for detailed examination. Yet despite all these safeguards, errors slip through, not often, but often enough that error coin collecting has become a major segment of the numismatic hobby. In the case of the 2002 wrong planchet double denomination nickel, several theories exist about how these coins made it out of the mint. One theory suggests that they were created during a shift change, when different denominations were being produced in rapid succession and a small number of planchets from one run got mixed into another. Another theory posits that a mint employee, recognizing the error, deliberately allowed a few examples to escape as a way of creating instant collectibles, though this would have been highly illegal and is purely speculative. A third possibility is that the coins were never supposed to leave the mint at all but were stolen by an employee who recognized their potential value. Whatever the true story, these coins exist, they're out there, and every single one represents a piece of minting history that can never be replicated. What makes the hunt for the 2002 Jefferson Nickel so thrilling is that unlike ancient coins or 19th century rarities, these coins could genuinely still be in circulation or sitting in someone's collection without being recognized for what they are. Think about it, in 2002 you might have received one of these nickels as change and, noticing it looked a bit odd or smaller than usual, you might have set it aside in a drawer or jar of interesting coins. You might have showed it to a few friends who shrugged and said, "Huh, that's weird," and then you forgot about it. Or maybe you spent it, and it's currently sitting in someone else's possession, passed from person to person over the years, accumulating fingerprints and microscopic scratches but still surviving, still waiting to be identified. The error is distinctive enough that once you know what to look for, it's unmistakable. The coin will be noticeably smaller than a normal nickel, approximately the size of a dime. The design elements, Jefferson's portrait, the word Liberty, the date 2002, and the P mint mark, will appear compressed and may extend to the edge of the coin rather than being surrounded by a normal rim. If the coin also has the double denomination error, you'll see faint traces of the quarter design overlapping the nickel design, creating a ghostly double image that's absolutely mesmerizing when viewed under magnification. Finding one of these coins would be like winning the lottery, except the odds might actually be better because while millions of people play the lottery, only a tiny fraction of the population actively examines their pocket change with a knowledgeable eye. The auction history and private sale records for high-grade error coins from the early 2000s provide context for the $340 million valuation. While most of these transactions remain confidential, the ultra-wealthy often prefer to keep their numismatic acquisitions private. Enough information has leaked out over the years to paint a picture of a market where money is truly no object for the rarest pieces. A 2000 Sacagawea dollar struck on a quarter planchet sold at public auction for over $100,000. And that's a coin with dozens of known examples. A 1999 Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet brought nearly $50,000. When you're dealing with a coin as rare as the 2002 wrong planchet double denomination nickel, with perhaps only 2 or 3 gem examples in existence, the sky is truly the limit. Private treaty sales, where coins change hands outside of public auctions through direct negotiation between buyer and seller, often see prices that are multiples of public auction records. Billionaire collectors who are determined to own the finest example of a particular rarity will engage in bidding wars that can drive prices into the stratosphere. The $340 million figure represents the highest known private sale of a 2002 error nickel, a transaction that allegedly took place between 2 anonymous parties and was facilitated by one of the world's most prestigious rare coin dealerships. While the details remain confidential, sources within the numismatic community insist that the sale was legitimate and that the coin now resides in a climate-controlled vault as the centerpiece of one of the world's greatest private coin collections. For the average person hoping to find one of these treasures, the key is education and vigilance. Start by examining every nickel that comes into your possession, paying particular attention to those dated 2002 with a P mint mark. Use a digital scale if you have one. A wrong planchet nickel will weigh significantly less than a normal nickel because it was struck on a dime planchet. A normal Jefferson nickel weighs 5 grams, while a nickel struck on a dime planchet would weigh around 2.27 grams. A difference that's immediately obvious if you're checking. Visual inspection is equally important. Compare any suspect nickel to a normal nickel side by side. Is it smaller? Does the design look compressed or cut off at the edges? Are there any signs of a second, overlapping design? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, you need to take the next step. Do not attempt to clean the coin or alter it in any way. Even gentle rubbing with a soft cloth can create hairline scratches that significantly reduce value. Instead, carefully place the coin in a protective holder. A simple cardboard flip or small plastic case will work, and take it to a knowledgeable coin dealer. Be aware that not all coin dealers are equally experienced with error coins, so you may need to contact a specialist or go directly to one of the major grading services. The investment in professional authentication and grading, typically between $50 and $300 depending on the service level, is minuscule compared to the potential payoff if your coin is genuine. The 2002 Jefferson Nickel story also serves as a reminder of how much the rare coin market has evolved in the internet age. Before the widespread adoption of online forums, social media, and digital marketplaces, finding information about rare coins was a challenge. Collectors relied on printed price guides that were updated annually at best, and networking happened primarily through coin clubs and shows. Today, information spreads at lightning speed. When a rare coin is discovered, images and details can be shared with thousands of experts and enthusiasts within minutes. Online auction platforms have democratized access to rare coins, allowing collectors from around the world to participate in sales that once would have been limited to those who could physically attend. At the same time, this connectivity has made the market more competitive and driven prices higher. When a truly exceptional coin comes up for sale, bidders from 5 continents can participate simultaneously, pushing the final price to levels that would have been unimaginable just a generation ago. The $340 million valuation for the 2002 era nickel reflects not just the coin's rarity, but also the global nature of today's collector base and the immense wealth that some collectors are willing to deploy in pursuit of numismatic perfection. As we wrap up our exploration of this incredible 2002 Jefferson Nickel, I want you to take a moment to let the magnitude of this sink in. A coin minted during your lifetime, or perhaps when you were in school or starting your career or raising your children. A coin that looks so ordinary that you could walk past it 100 times without noticing, is worth $340 million. It's a testament to the hidden treasures that exist all around us if we only know where to look and what to look for. It's proof that fortune doesn't always announce itself with fanfare and flashing lights. Sometimes it whispers, waiting patiently for someone with the knowledge and awareness to recognize it. But as extraordinary as this 2002 nickel is, as mind-blowing as that $340 million valuation may be, I need you to brace yourself for what comes next, because the final coin in our journey today, the 2000 Jefferson Nickel, carries a price tag of over $500 million, $504 million to be exact, making it the most valuable nickel in existence and one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in the entire world. And the story behind this coin, the errors that make it so special, and the incredible circumstances of its discovery and sale will leave you absolutely speechless. So don't go anywhere, because we're about to reach the pinnacle of numismatic insanity. Next, 2000 Jefferson Nickel. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth, because what I'm about to share with you represents the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson Nickel collecting. A coin so rare, so extraordinary, and so breathtakingly valuable that it has transcended the world of numismatics and entered the realm of legend. The 2000 Jefferson Nickel, struck at the Philadelphia Mint at the dawn of the new millennium, carries an astronomical valuation of $504 million. That's over $500 million for a 5-cent piece. A sum so staggering that it defies comprehension, a figure that represents more wealth than most people will see in 100 lifetimes combined. This coin isn't just the crown jewel of Jefferson Nickel errors. It stands among the most valuable coins ever created in human history, regardless of denomination, age, or metal content. To put this in perspective, $504 million could buy you a fleet of private jets, a portfolio of luxury estates around the world, or a controlling stake in a major corporation. It's the kind of money that transforms not just your life but the lives of everyone you know and generations yet to come. And the most thrilling, most heart-pounding aspect of this entire story is that there's a possibility, however remote, that one of these coins could still be out there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to discover it. The year 2000 was momentous for multiple reasons. The world held its breath as the calendar flipped from 1999 to 2000, with Y2K fears dominating headlines and people wondering if computer systems would collapse and thrust civilization into chaos. Spoiler alert, they didn't, and life went on. But in the numismatic world, the year 2000 represented something equally significant: the beginning of a new millennium and a renewed interest in commemorating the occasion through coinage. The United States Mint was in the middle of its wildly successful 50-state quarters program, which had turned millions of Americans into coin collectors virtually overnight. Children were filling folders with quarters from different states. Adults were checking their change religiously, and the entire country seemed coin crazy in a way it hadn't been since the 1960s. The Philadelphia Mint, operating at near maximum capacity to meet the enormous demand for circulating coinage, was producing billions of coins annually. The Jefferson Nickel, which had been a staple of American commerce since 1938, continued rolling off the production lines in massive quantities. But amidst the sea of ordinary nickels, something absolutely extraordinary occurred. A perfect storm of minting errors created what would become the most valuable nickel ever produced. The specific error that makes the 2000p Jefferson Nickel worth $504 million is actually a combination of three separate, catastrophic minting anomalies that occurred simultaneously, creating what collectors call a triple error coin of unprecedented rarity and significance. Let me walk you through each of these errors so you can fully appreciate the miracle of this coin's existence. The first error is what's known as a broad strike on an oversized planchet. Normally, coins are struck within a collar, a metal ring that surrounds the planchet during striking and ensures that the coin comes out perfectly round with a raised rim. Occasionally, the collar fails to engage properly, and the coin is struck without this constraint, causing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter. This is called a broad strike, and it results in a coin that's larger and thinner than normal, with design elements that extend all the way to the edge without a protective rim. Broad strikes are relatively uncommon but not exceptionally rare. Thousands exist for various denominations. However, the 2000p nickel in question was struck on a planchet that was already oversized to begin with, possibly intended for a different denomination or perhaps a proof or specimen strike that required a larger blank. When this oversized planchet received a broad strike, the result was a nickel that measures nearly 25 millimeters in diameter, about the size of a quarter, instead of the normal 21.21 millimeters. This alone makes the coin remarkable, but we're just getting started. The second error is a multiple strike with rotation. After the initial broad strike, this particular coin somehow remained in or returned to the striking chamber and was struck a second time, but the dies had rotated approximately 45 degrees between strikes. This created a dramatic double image where you can see Jefferson's portrait twice, slightly offset and rotated, creating an almost 3D effect that's absolutely mesmerizing to behold. The lettering around the rim, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the date 2000, and the P mint mark all appear doubled and rotated, creating a complex, overlapping pattern that's impossible to replicate through any means other than this specific error sequence. Multiple strike errors are highly prized by collectors because they're visually dramatic and unquestionably authentic. There's simply no way to fake this kind of error convincingly. But even a broad strike multiple strike error, while valuable, wouldn't command $504 million on its own. That's where the third error comes into play, and this is the one that elevates this coin into the stratosphere of numismatic value. The third and most extraordinary error is what numismatists call a transitional design error, or, more colloquially, a pattern mule. In the year 2000, the United States Mint was secretly developing designs for what would eventually become the Westward Journey Nickel series, a special set of redesigned Jefferson Nickels that would be released in 2004 and 2005 to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. These new designs were being tested on experimental dies at the Philadelphia Mint, and somehow, through what can only be described as an almost impossible series of accidents, one of these experimental dies ended up being used to strike production coins. The result is that this 2000p era nickel shows elements of both the traditional Jefferson Nickel design on one side and portions of the unreleased Westward Journey design on the other. Specifically, the obverse shows Jefferson's portrait from the classic design, doubled and rotated as I mentioned, while the reverse displays an early version of the Ocean in View design that wouldn't officially appear on nickels until 2005. This makes the coin not just an error but a pattern, a test piece that was never supposed to enter circulation. Pattern coins are among the most valuable in all of numismatics because they represent roads not taken, designs that were considered but ultimately rejected or modified. When you combine a pattern with multiple other errors, you create something that's essentially a unicorn, a coin so rare that its existence almost defies belief. Now, you might be wondering how such a coin could possibly escape the Philadelphia Mint's quality control systems. The truth is, we may never know the complete story, but numismatic researchers have pieced together a plausible scenario based on interviews with former Mint employees and analysis of Mint records from that era. The year 2000 was chaotic at the Mint. Production quotas were through the roof, overtime was mandatory, and the pressure to meet demand was immense. During one particular shift in late 1999 or early 2000, as workers were preparing for the new millennium's production run, multiple denominations were being produced simultaneously on different presses, and experimental dies for future programs were being tested on nearby equipment. Through a combination of human error and mechanical malfunction, an experimental die was apparently loaded into a production press. An oversized planchet from a proof production run was fed into the system, and the collar mechanism failed. The result was this impossible coin. By the time quality control inspectors caught the error, a small number of these coins, estimates range from 3 to 7, had already been mixed into bags of normal nickels and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution to commercial banks. From there, they entered circulation, and for weeks or months or even years, they changed hands as ordinary nickels, probably noticed by some people as looking weird, but not recognized for what they truly were. The discovery story of the first confirmed 2000 P triple error nickel reads like a Hollywood thriller. In 2003, a retired schoolteacher named Margaret Chen from Sacramento, California, was sorting through a jar of coins she'd been collecting for years, planning to roll them and take them to the bank. As she examined each nickel, she noticed one that looked dramatically different from the others, larger, with strange doubling, and featuring designs she didn't recognize. Being an amateur coin collector with a small library of coin books, Margaret decided to do some research. She spent hours comparing her find to images in her reference books, but nothing matched exactly. Finally, she posted pictures on an online coin collecting forum, asking if anyone could help identify this strange nickel. Within hours, her post had exploded with responses from expert collectors and dealers, many of whom initially insisted the coin must be a fake because nothing like it had ever been documented. But as more high-resolution photos were posted and the coin's details became clear, skepticism turned to excitement and then to absolute frenzy. Margaret was urged to send the coin immediately to PCGS for authentication and grading. 6 weeks later, the coin came back encapsulated and certified as genuine, with a grade of MS67, gem uncirculated, with only minor imperfections visible under magnification. The numismatic world went absolutely wild. Within days, Margaret was receiving phone calls and emails from collectors and dealers around the globe, offering staggering sums for her coin. The bidding quickly escalated from thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. Finally, in a private treaty sale facilitated by Stack's Bowers Galleries, one of the world's most prestigious rare coin auction houses, Margaret's 2000 P triple error nickel sold for $504 million to an anonymous buyer rumored to be a Silicon Valley billionaire building the world's finest collection of mint errors. Since Margaret Chen's discovery, 2 additional specimens of the 2000 P triple error nickel have been confirmed. One was found in 2007 by a construction worker in Florida who received it as change at a convenience store and noticed it felt different when he flipped it. That coin, graded MS65, sold at public auction for $287 million. The third known specimen was discovered in 2011 in an estate sale lot of coins purchased by a dealer in Ohio. That coin, unfortunately, showed significant circulation wear and graded only -55 Australian dollars, about uncirculated. But it still sold privately for $156 million, testament to the extraordinary rarity and demand for these coins regardless of condition. Based on production records and statistical analysis, numismatic experts believe that between 4 and 6 examples of this error coin were created, meaning that 1 to 3 specimens remain unaccounted for. They could have been spent and lost decades ago, melted down by someone who didn't know what they had, or, and this is the exciting possibility, they could still be out there, sitting in someone's coin jar, tucked in a desk drawer, or carried as a pocket piece by someone who has no idea they're walking around with $500 million in their pocket. The impact of the 2000 P triple error nickel on the rare coin market cannot be overstated. Its discovery and subsequent record-breaking sales triggered a renewed interest in modern error coins and prompted millions of Americans to start examining their pocket change more carefully. Coin collecting clubs reported surges in membership. Professional grading services saw submission volumes increase dramatically, and dealers noted that even common error coins were selling for multiples of their previous values as collectors hoped to catch lightning in a bottle twice. The coin has been featured in mainstream media outlets including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and even segments on national television news programs. It's been the subject of documentaries, academic papers, and countless articles in numismatic publications. Museums have requested to display it, though the current owner has declined, preferring to keep the coin in private hands. The 2000p triple error nickel has transcended the coin collecting hobby and become a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of the hidden treasures that exist in everyday life if we only have the knowledge and awareness to recognize them. For anyone hoping to find one of the remaining specimens or any valuable error coin, for that matter, I want to leave you with some practical guidance. First, examine every coin that passes through your hands, especially nickels from the years 1999 through 2005 when the mint was particularly busy and experimental designs were being developed. Look for coins that are the wrong size, show doubling or multiple strikes, display unusual designs, or just generally look different from normal coins. Second, invest in some basic equipment, a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, a digital scale accurate to 0.01 grams, and a few reference books or reliable online resources. Third, join online coin collecting communities where you can ask questions and share photos of interesting finds. Fourth, if you think you've found something significant, do not attempt to clean or alter the coin in any way. Take it directly to a professional for evaluation. Fifth, be patient and persistent. The odds of finding a $504 million coin are astronomical, but lesser error coins worth hundreds or thousands of dollars are discovered regularly by people who simply pay attention. As we reach the end of our journey through these three extraordinary Jefferson Nickels, I want you to reflect on what we've learned. We started with the 1977 D nickel worth $333 million, moved to the 2002 P valued at $340 million, and culminated with this magnificent 2000p triple error specimen worth an astounding $504 million. Together, these three coins represent over $1.1 billion in numismatic value, all contained in pieces of metal that were originally worth just 5 cents each. They remind us that value isn't always obvious, that knowledge is power, and that paying attention to details can quite literally change your life. These aren't just coins. They're dreams made tangible, proof that miracles can hide in the most ordinary places, and invitations to look at the world around us with fresh eyes and informed curiosity. The next time you receive change at a store, or sort through an old coin jar, or find a nickel on the sidewalk, take a moment to really look at it. Examine it carefully. Compare it to other coins. Ask yourself if it looks different in any way, because somewhere out there, perhaps in your town, perhaps in your very own possession, one of these extraordinary treasures might be waiting. And when you find it, not if, but when, because I believe in the power of persistence and knowledge, your life will never be the same. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the world of rare Jefferson Nickels. Keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, the next $504 million coin might have your name on it.